done and dusted in the locker. Will, how have you found the last 3 days?
I've really enjoyed it. I said at the start of the week, this is probably my favourite time of the year because it's when we start to get that first impression of how this season's going to shake out. We've not seen everything. We've seen some things. But yeah, a couple of questions still remaining. But I'm so excited to get back for next week in the race.
I think a fair few teams haven't shown their true card. As we have Max Verstappen just behind us here, potentially about to walk through our shot. We'll say a quick hello to him. Hello, Max. How are we doing? All good. How are you? There we go. Max Verstappen coming through, mobbed by a few of the fans and VIPs who are in this paddock. Jolyon, coming to you. How are you doing? How have you found the last 3 days?
Yeah, good. I do enjoy it. It starts with the launches and the excitement about that. Then you have sort of 3 days of mystery. It ends at the checkered flag with the power hour and the last people trying to get on the soft tyres at the end and show what they can do. And now we stand here and we still don't really know exactly where we're at. So we'll find that out next week. But I quite like looking around and getting a feel for what's going on and trying to piece together the truth.
We don't really know, you're right. We can't be sure until we, I think, get into the first few races of the season and see the cars, how they behave, how they perform at different kind of racetracks. But I think a unanimous opinion within the paddock is that the Red Bull looks to be the strongest yet again. They're on the pace, the car seemingly infallible to an extent. We did have a few gremlins come out yesterday, but it looks good, doesn't it?
They've completely moved the goalposts by turning up with a completely new concept of car for them. And yeah, for the majority of running, it was faultless. It was fast. Max Verstappen looking really easy at it. And look, even on his fast time today, he wasn't dialed up to the max. He was taking it pretty easy. I saw Jonathan Wheatley leaving the garage earlier and walking back over here, and he said, "How is your winter?" And I was like, "Good." He said, "How's the bubba?" And I said, "Oh, she's joyous and wonderful and happy." And I said, "How have the last 3 days been?" And he said, "Joyous, wonderful, and happy." And I was just like it. Okay, so
got it.
That's it.
Got it. We've just seen Max Verstappen walk pretty much through our shot here. Of course, we're outside the Red Bull Racing Hospitality. I believe our Greg Stewart has managed to catch up with him.
Well, Max, you didn't end the final day of testing as the fastest, but I don't think that will bother you too much. That's been a very strong test from Red Bull, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, today we made the plan to not focus on pure lap time. I think it was more important just to get the long running done and get a bit more of an understanding of the car. And yeah, so we focus on that program. And to be honest, I think it all looked quite positive. Quite happy with the car, how it was behaving. And then, when we head into the race weekend, it's about, fine-tuning the balance around the circumstances that you face, throughout that weekend.
Probably with a bit of gamesmanship, everybody up and down the paddock has been saying Red Bull are the favourites and we'll try and get to them. Is that how you feel on the team? And also, where do you feel like your main threats are going to come from?
I don't really think about that. I just look at what we are doing here, and yeah, I think there's of course always a lot of work to do. You always want to do better, but I think we had a very positive test, and we learned a lot from every single thing that we changed on the car, and we also know what we want to do for next week, and that's what we'll focus on.
In 2023, obviously the RB9 team worked everywhere, barring a glitch in Singapore. Are you confident that the RB20 will work across a wide variety of tracks as well?
Only time will tell. I don't know at the moment.
Okay, and final question from me. I just want to ask, when Adrian and all the technical team showed you the plans for the RB20, which bears some resemblance to the Mercedes concept from a few years ago, did you think they'd gone crazy after the year you'd had, or were you ready to go on board with whatever new idea Adrian had come up with?
Honestly, I trust everyone in the team that, they know what they are doing. So I don't care how they design the car as long as it's faster. I mean, of course, I'm always, it's quite interesting what they come up with every single time. And it looks nice, and for the rest, I'm not an engineer. I'm here to do my job in the car, and they are here to do their job, building the car and preparing it. So, I think so far, everything that we hoped for, worked very well. And that's always, a little bit of a question mark when you get to the real track. But I have to say the last few years already, I think that has been a good strength of ours.
Lovely. Thank you, Max.
He certainly is getting his job done in the car, and a new looking car at that, as Max was talking about, as Greg Stewart was asking him about the new concept that Adrian Newey has taken this car down. Of course, he'd have expected the paddock to have converged to the RB19, so dominant, so brilliant a car that it was, and yet instead of just resting on their laurels and keeping the same sort of concept, he's gone a step further, Jolien. It's brave though, isn't it?
It's brave, but you just trust that this guy and the team at Red Bull are going to be able to pull it off. I love the fact that he's thought, you guys are all going to try and copy this, but you've not thought about this, which is the back towards, as Greg said, it's towards the Mercedes zero pod concept. Of course, there's side pods on the car, but it's tiny air intakes. There's a slit on the horizontal frame of the front of the side pod. It's got big haunches behind. The cooling it looks seriously reduced, but there's other areas where it's coming, and it gives them aerodynamic gain. And it's a little bit the area where Mercedes were trying to do the same thing in a different area in the side pods, and Red Bull maybe have potential to have some play in that as well. And that's what Adrian's looking for, further scope to improve this car. It started really well, and there's going to be more coming onto it, I'm sure.
They're not standing still, are they? We already have rumours of development and how this car will progress over the coming months or so. Races 5 to 7, I think, have been earmarked for another big shift. So we will wait and see. The driver market is obviously going to be a big story for this season. We have 12 drivers, I believe, out of contract. Sergio Perez, one of them, and that second Red Bull seat, so often a talking point up and down this paddock. Will, it's a pivotal year for him. What did you make of his 3 days here and, of course, his future through the year?
I thought he did okay. Didn't look anywhere near as comfortable as Max does in the car. We know that Max likes a very sensitive car, and Checo has struggled of late to get on board with that. But no, there's no alarm bells ringing at Red Bull, is there? And Checo will be entering this season hoping that he can match Max, hoping that he can step up to Max and the incredible display that Max put on last year. And let's not forget, in the early races of last season, Checo looked really, really good. He was setting pole positions, he was taking race victories, and then it just started to slip away for him. So he's just got to hope he can maintain that consistency, maintain that pace, keep his confidence running, because he has to have a good season. He has to get closer to Max Verstappen. He can't fall as far back behind him as he did last season in terms of the points that he's accumulating for the team, because we know Daniel Ricciardo is in that RB with the express intention of returning to Red Bull Racing in the future. So Checo knows there's heat on him, and he knows that he's going to have to pull out a really convincing performance.
Yeah, for sure. McLaren, of course, with a remarkably better testing than the one they endured this time last year. Lawrence Barretto, I believe, is standing by right now with Zak Brown.
Well, Zach, we've made it to the end of pre-season testing, and I'd say for the most part, McLaren looks strong. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, we feel good. Certainly a lot better than last year's test, but we learned a lot about the car. We had a few issues here and there, but I suspect everyone in pit lane did, and that's what testing's for, is to understand where you maybe have some weak points. But it looks like we've got good one-lap pace. We've got good race pace. You're never quite sure what everyone else was up to, but I think it's a general sense we're pretty competitive and kind of feel like we're there or thereabouts for where we maybe finished last year, which is what we wanted coming into this year. And, hopefully the developments we have coming will continue to work, which I'm sure they will be.
Now, I know you've had a smoother winter this time around than last time, but is there still that little bit of trepidation coming into testing just in case it hasn't all worked out?
Well, for me, there always is. Coming off of last year, that's like touching the hot stove, and my hand still hurts just thinking about it. So, it's one of excitement. The men and women at McLaren have done a fantastic job. Our data's been strong. Everyone's happy. Not totally satisfied, but you wouldn't expect the team to be, or the drivers to be, because we want to continue to push forward. We're definitely getting closer to the front, but we're not at the front, or it doesn't appear that we're at the front. It seems like Red Bull's got a good pace on everyone, but something that we can really build on from here, and I think we'll have a strong season. And
it does seem like you are in that mix of that pack behind Red Bull, at least, and if you have got like a foundation, I guess, to build on, that is a real positive thing, because you had such a strong trajectory last year, didn't you, from a development perspective? Yeah, and everything we're seeing in the development right now continues to look good. So like all the other teams, we'll have development coming here, but I think if we can stay on the development pace that we're on, and a team or two blinks, maybe we can turn one of those 6 seconds we had last year, 9 podiums, into one of those top steps, which is certainly the ambition that we have. But